Welcome to this latest edition of Weather or Not. It is Thursday, August 14th, and joining me, I don't want to say always, because sometimes we get days off, don't we?
Sometimes we do. Yes, well, good to see you, Scott.
Good to see you, Brian.
Made it to Thursday.
We have, and I think we've had a nice break in the weather, too. We've had some segments of Kettleland with a dry spell of 5 to maybe 7 days. We've had, unfortunately, some severe weather also move through as we break that dry spell. We've had a lot of wind reports, western, south central South Dakota. Even this morning, we had some heavier rainfall in Huron, where I checked a couple of the rain gauges there, over an inch.
Yeah,
that and that quick, dose of rain that they had. That came through just after the newscast, right after 7 o'clock this morning.
Right, yeah. Some thunderstorms locally there, heavier, and then also the Webster area overnight picking up a lot of rain, a patch of 2 to 4 inches of rain up near Roslyn, and then some big winds across south central South Dakota last night. Some thunderstorms, they came off the Black Hills, and those took a turn into Nebraska. So it's still an active pattern. It's those, though, that need the rain. I know there are some out there that are still pretty desperate for some more moisture, actually.
And we broke our string of, I think, 7 consecutive days in Sioux Falls without measurable rain.
Yeah.
Last I checked, the airport had 0.04 of an inch.
Yeah. And obviously, you're drying out a little bit. Some of the timely rains from earlier in the summer have helped. But, I could argue right now, my house, I could use another inch of rain easily. I'd take that.
I think it will soak it up pretty quick.
Yep, and crops are consuming that water pretty quickly here this time of the year.
Well, we do have scattered showers, thunderstorms in our forecast as we go over the next several days, as we do return to high heat and humidity. Those dew point temperatures back to the 70s. As we get even into this afternoon, we could see those higher dew point temperatures return. Our rain over the past week, we mentioned that some of us did not receive a drop. We'll take a look at the latest drought monitor that came out this morning. Talk about this coming weekend with temperatures widespread upper 80s, lower 90s, even a chance leading into the weekend that some may hit 100. And a day is a day where central South Dakota may hit 100. And we'll talk about when this heat and humidity may break. It will happen, I'll tell you later. Here's Futurecast for today. After our morning showers, thunderstorms have moved east of the area. It looks like we'll have a partly cloudy sky. Strong southerly winds today. We'll have wind gusts maybe near 30 miles per hour, and that can cover parts of eastern and southeastern Kettleland. That'll help bring in the heat and the humidity. And then late today, sure, we can bring in the scattered shower, maybe thunderstorm chances across western South Dakota as we get into the later part of the evening. And some of that may last into the overnight and eventually move into central and south central South Dakota. Forecast for today, I mentioned that 100-degree heat in central South Dakota, 102 in our forecast in Pierre, 97 Rapid City. We started the day with these scattered showers and thunderstorms across eastern Kettleland, partly cloudy skies for the rest of the afternoon as temperatures reach the 80s and 90s across eastern and southeastern Kettleland. We'll talk more about the heat and humidity coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back to Weather or Not. It's time to talk about high heat and humidity, Brian. We've had the forecast going with these warmer temperatures for the end of the week, going into the weekend. Numbers returning 80s, 90s. Here we are with 100-degree heat today in central South Dakota. For this coming weekend, I think we will stay 80s, 90s, 100 maybe a little harder to come by for some because of the higher dew point temperatures. 70s will return in central and eastern Kettleland for these dew point numbers.
Absolutely. So right away, your overnight lows are way warmer and then makes it easier just to get hotter in the afternoon. I would say, too, that with 90-degree heat, we're going to put, a little bit more moisture stress on things a little bit. Fortunately, we've had some timely rains, but those that are in drought, we're going to get to that subject here coming up. But certainly those that need the moisture, it's going to be a little tougher at times. But our hope is we'll land on this next week and correct some of those trends.
Yes, and as we do bring in the higher dew point temperatures, of course, that's the measurement of the amount of moisture that's in the atmosphere. We'll see if we can interact with this, and I think we will with scattered showers, thunderstorms. We have it in the forecast. anywhere from 20, maybe 40%. But the interesting thing here with our higher dew point temperatures is even notice in the western South Dakota, we have our temperatures going to the middle 60s for these dew point numbers. So as compared to what we had yesterday, and I even think today, it's more of that drier heat that Brian talked about during KELOLAND this morning. We'll eventually see some thicker moisture across western South Dakota with these dew point temperatures into the middle 60s. Low to middle 70s expected in central and eastern KELOLAND. Here's Saturday showing those numbers in the 70s, central, eastern South Dakota, Minnesota, and Iowa. And more or less, those numbers stay there as we get into early next week. And I really think as we go through much of next week, we'll continue with the high humidity. As far as the heat index goes, when you have these air temperatures upper 80s into the 90s and you throw in those high dew point temperatures in the 70s, it's easy to get this heat index into the triple digits. And that's what we'll have probably tomorrow. This is showing Saturday afternoon. Numbers returning to the 100s in southeastern South Dakota. Take it anywhere. I can throw in Huron at 98, Mitchell 100, 100 in Sioux Falls, 98 Worthington. And especially areas to the south, they'll see those numbers into the triple digits. So we've been through this before, Brian, with high heat, high humidity. Here it is continuing as we get into, well, we'll start the second half of the month as we do get into this weekend. So it's the last month of meteorological summer.
Yes, it is. That's right. So yeah, you got to finish up summer with some heat, I'm sure. And the overall trend though this summer, really, as much as we've had these bursts of heat, they haven't lasted a long time. We've kind of been in a cycle where you'll get these peak hot spells for a couple of days, and then we get some relief. And already we're looking at some pretty good chances of that too. So I know a day of 100-degree heat index is not, unless you're at the pool, or you get your pool pass and you're like, I want to get some more value out of that.
Right.
We're kind of in that boat in our house. Kids have some pool passes and whatnot. And
you got
definitely,
them, you might as well use them.
Right. Well, they're looking at it like, okay, here's the calendar and here's what's left of the summer. So, yeah. So you got to look at it from that perspective because we all know the days will go fast and then we'll be off to a fall pattern before you know it.
And speaking of that fall pattern, will it contain rain? Will this rain continue much like what we've had during the summer? Let's go ahead and take a look at our rainfall numbers for the past week. And, these estimates here, not as high as what they have been compared to the past couple of weeks as we've been doing this Weather or Not program, Brian. We've had widespread rains, I think even last week, across eastern South Dakota, Minnesota, and Iowa, with numbers coming in at 2-4 inches or more. Right now, I do see a lot of locations in southeastern South Dakota. Call it about a trace, maybe a quarter to a half inch. And again, these are rainfall estimates. There are a couple of areas. Guess what? Watertown being one, 1.5 inches. Mentioned the heavier rains that moved through Huron even earlier this morning. That estimate's coming in at around 2.5. But otherwise, you see the amounts of a trace to maybe a half inch covering central, western South Dakota. Mentioned those areas in the southeastern South Dakota, northwestern Iowa. Look at Minnesota, too, throughout much of western and southwestern Minnesota. The rain over the past week has just skipped over that area. We do have our chances for showers and thunderstorms going over the next several days with the high heat and high humidity returning.
When I see that map, Scott, too, I just think about how many intervals of time we've had capping, too, over the atmosphere. I know last week it kind of started with that Friday night event. That was a severe weather scenario that could have been bad and was bad in parts of the Midwest. But for us locally, we spent a lot of the time shielded by that warm layer aloft. And when you get to this point in the year, you can work in those warmer temperatures pretty quickly. In fact, that's kind of expected in July and August at times because those are typically months of the year that the rain patterns would, most years you'd expect them to shut off a little bit more for a time. Now, by mid-August, then you start thinking, oh, okay, we're starting to cool. Then typically the jet stream will come in line and we'll start to pick up some more thunderstorms. But this year, I was just doing a weather piece here for tomorrow, and I wanted to kind of preview. I don't know if you've got a chance on this other graphics machine. I'll give you a couple little talking points. The big picture from the past 60 days. Well, a large part of eastern KELOLAND and western or northwestern KELOLAND is wetter than normal. The central, that's where the problems have been. It's been not huge deficits, but they're enough. And then, of course, that piggybacks off of what happened the prior 60 days, or I should say, well, going back to April and May. I did this graphic too. Now, the Northwest has been consistently wet. So, just a year where, some areas are doing really, really well. Some are way too wet. The Northeast, I mean, you look at when you add all that rain together, we're talking yearly rain totals, I think probably around 25, 26 inches. Sioux Falls were not that wet, but we've had timely rain. So that's why, and boy, you remember back to when we were talking in mid-June. This is the map going into the 13th, 14th of June. And I remember the forecast, we were calling for about 100-degree heat, and it was a dry heat initially. It got humid, but we were waiting and waiting for the real active spring rains to pick up in the southeast, and my patience was kind of wearing thin at that point.
Well, wasn't that when you brought in the picture of the corn, too?
Yes.
And it was curled?
Yeah, it was. There was no moisture in the moisture profile of the soil depth. There was just very little here to operate off of, and then you look at historically, in a lot of years, you'll end up being drier. But then, of course, we ended up switching gears right in that period where we opened the door with more humidity, and then we ended up getting the thunderstorms. So it went from this to that. And, of course, some got left out in the change. Not everybody got rain, but a lot of folks did.
Still hitting the Northwest.
Yeah, and still up in the Northwest, right. That area didn't stop. And so now, we're going to have a little more discussion, I'm sure, coming up about, where we go from here. But it will be nice to pick up some more rain for those that have missed it, obviously, and we'll see where all of this will go in the forecast.
Well, this is what it did to the drought monitor, Brian. Severe drought. I've been watching this area here in central South Dakota. It's been showing up near Chamberlain, I think, for the past couple of weeks. But this spot is new, east of Winter, where it's showing up now with severe drought. Otherwise, this is matching up quite nicely. I don't know if you still have that graphic up. There we go. Quite nicely with what's going on here over the past 60 days, where central, south central, and the southwestern South Dakota, they have not been receiving as much rainfall as everybody else.
Yeah. And here's something else, totally different. I'm going to throw this out here, okay? So thinking about the drought monitor, thinking about the rain precipitation trends, the thing, and I think I mentioned this to you the other day too, about why, or the questions come up about tornadoes this year. Supercells, tornadoes, all of that. Look at the air masses that we've been breeding. When you get the dry, hot soils in the south central, then you've got frequent cold fronts from Canada, so that's your cooler, drier air.
Yep.
And the Gulf moisture, or I'll say recycled moisture, corn sweat. 3. 1, 2, 3. Those are such basic foundational elements to tornado forecasting and severe weather. If you go through just what kind of air masses you need for, severe weather, they've all been here. They've all been kind of crisscrossing and interacting with each other. So now we go into the later part of August, and, the drought, obviously we'll see how storms go this weekend, and if we can fix some things, that'd be nice. But, we still have to be careful about severe weather. Even with a northwest flow pattern in late August, you can still get some storms. So just putting that out there as kind of a, think about this for a little bit.
Just because school starts just doesn't mean that severe weather goes away.
Right. No, it's still open. And, well, boy, you look at September. I mean, we've had some pretty rough years. I don't have to go back on that memory road too much. But I always think that really, you have to get through the summer convection and the storm season, and then, hopefully there'll be a quieter pattern, but I'm sure we'll pick up some more storms.
Well, here's an update on our consecutive days without rain in Sioux Falls. We've had 2 instances now where we've gone a full week without rain. We just got out of that this morning, so it goes from August 7th through the 13th. Watertown, it hasn't been as long of these consecutive days. We have 2 instances at 4, 2 at 3, and then I think they go down to 1 and 2. Otherwise, I think I did the math, was it last week? Watertown, with as many days we have so far this summer, I think it's come in, it's every other day they've had measurable rain. When you look at the days with measurable rain as compared to total days you have in meteorological summer dating back to June 1st. So, yeah, they've been receiving their rain. We know about that. We know about that severe weather as well in northeastern KELOLAND. Winter, that south-central part of South Dakota, 8 days. That's happened twice without rain, and then you have at least 3 times that's gone as long as 7 days without rain. So that has been taking its toll in south-central South Dakota. With any storms that do develop, and we've been showing this throughout much of the summer too, Brian, here's our PWATs, our available moisture when moisture is stacked in the atmosphere. So we just like to show this as any storms that are able to tap into some of this moisture. Periods of heavy rain looking likely. We had that this morning in and around Huron. We had an inch of rain, some spots a little more in the city, and that fell in probably less than an hour. It was a decent, fast-moving, thin line of thunderstorms that move through Huron. But as we do go through our available moisture here for this weekend, again, it all depends on where these storms do develop, but I think they can tap into a lot of moisture in the profile of the atmosphere that we will bring in some heavy downpours with some of the stronger storms that do develop. And a lot of it covers central and the eastern South Dakota, that 20 to 40% chance for rain. We'll have details on your weekend outlook coming up. Welcome back to Whether or Not. The weekend is just about here. Brian, you have big plans?
Well, let's see. This weekend, a couple things. Probably be going, having some kids going out to Grandma's house, maybe.
Okay, good.
Do some summer. I'm sure we'll just figure out, a variety of summer-related things. And then, we're counting down for us anyway, some school things start up next week already.
Right.
I think that's where a lot of parents are.
I know Sioux Falls Public goes back Thursday next week. Yeah, this time next week.
Yep.
They'll be in class.
Yep, it's getting to that time. But you know what? That's okay. I'm kind of ready for the change of schedules a little bit. And
now, do the kids get excited about going back?
Actually, I think they're in pretty good shape for that. Yeah, they've been looking at some of their materials, their books. We've been getting this school supplies, and I think they're overall looking forward to seeing their friends again a little bit more. So,
of course, yep.
So I think overall pretty good. You got to have a good outlook on that. It's a good chance to do some learning, and summer's not over yet. You still have some good times.
We still have the holiday left, right?
We still have Labor Day,
which is on the 1st of September.
Early, yeah, I know. And we already have plans on that weekend too. I think we're going to do some camping.
Okay.
So yeah, that'll be kind of nice. And then September will be here. One of my favorite months.
Yes, September, October, and then we'll get into Thanksgiving and Christmas later.
We'll go down that road today.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
You've been mentioning there's still a lot of summer left. Let's talk about a summer weekend. As we go through the day on Saturday, notice how temperatures will warm to the 70s, 80s in the afternoon. I really think a lot of this warm air will continue to push to the north by 2 o'clock. The one thing that may be holding it down on the model, it's trying to bring in some cloud cover and also some rain in north central, northeastern South Dakota. Otherwise, just looking at the model here, that's pretty good spread from Aberdeen to Sioux Falls, temperatures in the 70s, the 90s. So we'll have to watch those boundaries that's set up as we do have scattered showers and thunderstorms in our forecast as we do go through the weekend, both Saturday and Sunday. You notice that that low pressure system didn't want to move much. Let's go back to Saturday's graphic. We have it right along the border to start of South Dakota and Nebraska as we do start the weekend on Saturday. As we go into the afternoon, it's a slow mover, slowly trying to make its way to the northeast. And then as we take a look at Sunday, it doesn't make much progress, does it? It's trying to settle across eastern, southeastern South Dakota, slowly moving to the east. We'll continue to watch that for a good focal point for the showers and thunderstorms as we go through the weekend. Keep in mind that we're keeping this humidity around, too, with these high dew point temperatures as we do go through both Saturday and Sunday. And it almost looks like a mess with these scattered showers and thunderstorms. And that is the reason why we continue that 20, maybe up to 40% chance for these showers and thunderstorms. And the air temperatures in the 80s and 90s. We have both days in Sioux Falls with temperatures in the low to middle 90s, a little cooler in the northeastern Kettleland. We'll see how cool we get. We are forecasting numbers a little bit above the models and saying the middle 80s are in our forecast in Aberdeen. Here in Rapid City, we'll go with temperatures in the lower 90s. As we take a look at some other cities, Chamberlain coming in with temperatures in the 90s. The hills of western South Dakota still warming with temperatures in the lower 80s for Deadwood, but we'll watch that 30 to 40% chance for the scattered showers and thunderstorms. So the takeaway is, much like what we've had throughout much of this year, these scattered showers, thunderstorms in the forecast with the high heat and the high humidity. We talked about this yesterday, Brian. Cooler air coming. It looks like this will happen, not necessarily for next week. I think we'll still see these numbers above average, 80s and 90s, but for some of us in that 7-day forecast, those numbers slowly start to go down.
They do, yeah. And that's all related to that placement of that upper level ridge that's floating across the southern plains. And we've seen it kind of go back and forth. But yeah, when you take a peek out there to August 25th, there's actually quite a bit of evidence suggesting that a cooler northwest flow will develop. Mm-hmm. So, that's a good opportunity to kind of reset things a little bit. And I like that word cool. I think that's definitely descriptive here.
And keep in mind, we've said this before, sometimes the models have a hard time picking up on just how cool or cold that air may end up being. But then it quickly warms us again, Brian. Look at that. Temperatures above average, going beyond that Monday. And when we get into the 27th, 28th, I looked at some of the model data suggesting temperatures may warm back upper 80s, lower 90s by the time we get into the tail end of that 14-day forecast. But let's change our view. We have that connection, that Alaskan connection. When they cool, we tend to warm up, okay? But I'm interested to see what's going on with this cooler air here, southwestern Canada into Montana, Idaho. Is this air going to eventually sweep across the upper plains? That's what I'm a little curious about as we head into maybe the last couple of days of August. So as we continue through time here, Brian, it looks like we'll also follow these more frequent hits of, I would say, some cooler weather.
Yeah, and that is an expected.
How it should be.
Yeah, it's how it should be. Yep, mid to late August, you should start getting some of those fronts, and so we'll follow the details and see what happens with each one of them. But I won't argue a bit if we can get some 70s thrown in there at some point. The 90s just kind of wear me out in the afternoon. I'm not not as much of a fan of that as I used to be. But I bet you there are a few of you watching us that feel the opposite, so that's fine.
And with the early schedule that you and I have, getting those earlier sunsets is nice too.
Right, yeah.
Being selfish.
The light blocking shades that I have to get to bed. It's a little bit easier now that the sun is setting earlier, so that's also part of the change of the season that'll be coming up.
Yes, it is. That's the time for our Whether or Not segment on this Thursday, August 14th. Join us again tomorrow. In the meantime, have yourself a great day.